Hello and welcome to Rise and Unwind. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week I try to talk to people from across the country about things we could do right here in your neighborhood. And on this week's show, we got this.
So it truly does not take a lot of big budgets or big production to be successful on the platform. In fact, what's special about TikTok is that anyone, whether you are a creator or a business, you can get discovered.
That entrance to Capri, the boat ride into it, I think that was just breathtakingly beautiful, just riding in onto it. Ugh.
All of that and more right here on Rise and Unwind. Do you ever feel like you're paying more at the doctor's office but not getting more care? Turns out you're not. Really imagining things. Prices are rising fast, and it might just depend on where you go. Here's to explain why your medical bills keep going up and what you can actually do is Dr. Antonio Germann. He's a family physician and policy expert working with understanding communities across Oregon. Welcome to the show, Dr. Germann. How are you?
It's a pleasure to join you.
All right, so why are we paying more for the same care just depending on where we go?
Yeah, I think there are a number of different reasons why we're seeing healthcare costs increase across the country. But one issue that is really important to me and trying to help people understand this further, and why a number of my patients really don't have a full understanding of this, is it's really in the context where we see hospitals acquiring smaller medical practices. And what is happening here is as a hospital has a smaller clinic underneath it, that allows them the ability to charge patients more for the same care and same service that they would see just in a regular outpatient clinic. And it really is nothing more than a tacked on fee, which is called a facility fee and an upcharge. The problem here is that with research across the country, we're seeing as this takes place, in that change in setting, that charge for that care can be upwards of 14% more in a clinic such as mine as to a clinic that is hospital owned.
So what kind of effect does this pricing gap have on patients, especially in vulnerable communities?
Well, the concern here is, and providers know that when people can't afford the care they need, that they're going to develop worse health outcomes. In a recent study, showed that about half of U.S. Adults have difficulty affording the health care that they need, and subsequently, 1 in 4 individuals are going to skip necessary care, and that could be something as simple as getting an inhaler for their asthma. But it also could be something as them skipping an indicated surgical procedure or intervention. And as we see this incentive by hospitals to consolidate and pick up smaller practices, we're going to see these healthcare costs continue to rise. And I think it's important for people to be aware that as we spend more in these settings, we see total cost of care go up, and that subsequently impacts everybody because all of our insurance premiums are going to continue to go up.
And there's talk about something called site-neutral payments. Can you explain what that means and how you think that would help?
Yeah, one really important policy that can have a big impact on this is really providing patient protections, increasing transparency, and really leveling the playing field. So what site-neutral payment reform is simply saying is that it should be the same price for the same service. So if you go into one clinic and you get a screening or a test or treatment, it shouldn't differ whether that's in an outpatient setting such as my clinic versus going to another clinic, but that is affiliated with a hospital. And the only difference really is the label outside the door.
And what can viewers do if they're frustrated with some of these rising costs?
Really, I think it's just important for consumers to be more educated on the issue and be more informed healthcare consumers. I think this policy, site-neutral payment reform, can be helpful, again, by putting pressure on health systems to be more forward with those prices that they might see when they show up at a clinic. and to avoid things like surprise billing. What happens is people can go to a clinic with the understanding that they're in network, but later on down the road, a month or two later, they get this surprise bill because they weren't aware of this additional facility fee. And so people should ask the question when they go into a clinic, what the cost might be for those treatments or interventions that they're seeking at their place of care.
And finally, where can people go to learn more?
Yeah, people can educate themselves and learn more at the website samepricenow.org. That's samepricenow.org.
Dr. Germann, thanks for joining me this morning.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Do you ever feel like your pet's a little more adventurous than you are, but, with none of the risk management? Turns out tick bites and mosquito-borne diseases like Lyme and Heartworm are spreading fast, even in places they didn't even used to show up. Dr. Brad Ryan is a wildlife and public health veterinarian with Antech Diagnostics, and he's here to explain how we can better protect our pets and ourselves. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm excited to be here with you.
All right, so what's going on? Why are diseases like Lyme and Heartworm on the rise now?
We've had hot pockets of certain diseases like Lyme for quite a while up in New England, upper Midwest. And over time, especially as winters have gotten warmer and warmer, what we've seen is not only year-round persistence of these diseases, but they're like the blob, basically, and they're spreading southward, they're spreading westward. And then with places like Florida that get a lot of tourists, obviously people are traveling down there for vacation, sometimes staying all winter long, and they're bringing their pets and their parasites with them on those vacations. And so we don't have a lot of testing going on for Lyme disease, or we haven't, but that's starting to change because we know that diseases like Lyme are there. They might be low prevalence, but just because there's a low risk doesn't mean that there's no risk. And so the whole conversation on diseases like Lyme in Florida is changing. And I think that as we see more testing, we're probably going to appreciate just how rapidly the story is changing in places like Florida.
And what signs should we be watching out for, and what should pet owners be doing to try to stay ahead of this?
The most important thing that you can do to stay ahead of it is to make sure that your pet is on year-round prevention. Now, of course, heartworm disease is very prevalent, especially in the northern part of Florida, and we have some pockets that are streaming up from the southern tip of Florida as well. So your pet is maybe on heartworm prevention, but are they on flea and tick prevention as well year-round? And if the answer is no, that's a conversation that I would like for you to have with your veterinarian, for anyone who's listening. Because right now, we really do consider the threat of vector-borne diseases to be a year-round issue. And so year-round prevention, and then an annual test. So when you're going into your veterinarian every year to have your pet's blood work done and to have a urine sample submitted, a fecal submitted, also make sure that your pet is not being screened only for heartworm disease, that they're also being screened for these rising vector-borne diseases that are transmitted by ticks like Lyme, Anaplasma, and Ehrlichia.
If I'm already using flea and tick prevention, do I still need to get my dog tested pretty regularly?
Yes. Yeah, right now our professional institutions like the American College of Veterinary Internal Medicine recommend that dogs be screened annually for vector-borne diseases like Lyme, even if they've been on year-round flea and tick prevention, even if they've been vaccinated against Lyme disease. And the reason for that is that we've seen time and time again that drugs can lose their effectiveness over time. And even the most vigilant owner can sometimes get in a hurry one morning when they're supposed to give Fluffy their heartworm and their flea and tick prevention and miss a month. And it only takes missing 1 month, and it only takes one tick bite to cause a transmission. So for all those reasons, annual testing, even if you've been on prevention.
Can these diseases spread from pets to humans, or is it just like the shared environment that we're all worried about?
Correct. It's not a direct transmission, but it is the fact that we have a shared environment and a shared lifestyle. So if you're out hiking with your pet, that tick doesn't care what warm body walked by. It could be a human, it could be a dog. They're just ready to latch on and get a blood meal. But what we also see happen a lot is that the dog has ticks on its body, it comes into the house, and then eventually that tick wanders off of the dog and then onto you. So that's where the risk is.
What questions should I be asking my vet to make sure I'm covered on all of the bases?
In the Tampa area, I would ask, when was the last time my pet was tested for Lyme? When was the last time I had a comprehensive vector-borne disease test run? You might have only had your pet tested for heartworm. And if that's the case, take a stand and ask for your dog to be screened today. I think it's always a good idea to be an advocate for yourself and for your pet, and knowing that low risk doesn't mean no risk is reason enough to have your pet screened every year. And of course, if you've traveled outside of the state and you've traveled into an area that might have more anaplasmosis or more Lyme disease, certainly there's a travel risk associated with exposure to those diseases as well. So the more information you can give the veterinarian, the better care your pet's going to receive.
And finally, how often should we be doing these testing? Is once a year enough?
Once a year is the recommendation, unless there's been a lapse in prevention and you know your pet was potentially exposed because you pulled the tick off of your dog. So, but in the absence of that, the standard of care in North America is to have an annual heartworm test and an annual flea and tick test. And that can all be done in a single test if you're using Accuplex, True Rapid 4, any of the great assays that are out there to comprehensively test your pet for exposure to those pathogens.
And where can we go for more information?
Of course. Yeah, to learn more about the changing story on vector-borne diseases in North America, head to petsandparasites.org. And if you want to learn more about the testing options that exist right now to have your pet screened for those vector-borne pathogens, go to antechdiagnostics.com. That's ANTECH diagnostics.com.
Thanks for joining us this morning, Dr. Ryan.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Do you ever wonder if your home is really safe as it feels? From digital clutter to old door locks, spring cleaning isn't just about dusting. It's also about safety. Joining us is Cathy Pedrayes, known for her 2.6 million TikTok followers as the mom friend. She's a home safety and cybersecurity expert, and she's got smart, easy tips to keep your space secure. Welcome to the show, Cathy. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me. I love that intro.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. I tried to write something to introduce us. That's all I got, all right? I'm trying to give you clever things, but no, that's all I could come up with.
No, it was well done.
You talk about the importance of having safety conversations at home. What exactly does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, these are conversations we need to have across the family. But as a mom, something that I've been thinking about recently is whether my kids know how to identify emergencies. Do they know how to respond to them? Something as easy as making a phone call has changed a lot over these past generations and years, right? Do they know what to do when they're locked out of the home? Do they have adults, more than one, that they can go to if there's an issue? So it's something that, again, we need to talk about across the family, but especially if you have kids, this is something you can start doing early when they're young and continue to have these conversations often.
And when we're doing our spring cleaning, what are some of the key safety items that we should be checking?
You mentioned one of them, right? Like those old locks is something you want to make sure that's working correctly. But just take a look around your property. And as you're doing it, write a checklist so that you can refer to it in the future. But look for things like tripping hazards, things that can fall. There might be unusual things. In my home, I had a cement bird bath that was definitely a hazard for my young kids. There might be standing water, not just pools, but pool toys, buckets, that kind of thing. And also consider whether you've gone through a life change. So maybe you moved, maybe you renovated, maybe you ended some kind of relationship. In that case, you might want to consider changing the locks on your door. And if I can just share a life hack, a lot of people have quick set locks on their homes. And if you do, chances are you have something called smart key technology, which allows you to rekey your door on your own. And they were the first to introduce this DIY technology into the market. So all you do is you take your old key, you put it in the lock, you turn it. You take the learning tool, put that in the lock, push a little bit, take both of those two things out, put a new key in, turn it again. And in those 3 steps, you have rekeyed your lock, no locksmith, no new hardware, very, very easy. And again, we have these security issues come up where you may need to do this.
You said ending relationships. How often can we rekey it over and over again?
Well, there's a smart lock too. That might be good for that.
That's probably even better, all right? All right. So what does digital spring cleaning look like? Anything that we should be doing like right now?
Yeah, make sure your apps are updated. I mentioned the smart home device. Make sure those especially are updated. If you have an alarm system, sometimes those security apps are just an app on your phone. So making sure that you're keeping all of those updated. Any compromised passwords, change them as soon as you become aware. Enable 2-factor authentication in as many accounts as possible. And then if you're sharing access codes, again, back to that breakup thing, if you're sharing access codes maybe with people who no longer need it, or even devices, make sure that you revoke those access codes. And then, just as we're kind of going through our email, we spring clean our closets, right? Spring clean your email, unsubscribe to things that you no longer need.
Good. Okay. Well, I'm feeling a little more called out over and over again on this one. All right. A lot of people think home safety could look boring or bulky. How can we combine security and style and all that?
Yes. So there's some simple things, right? Things like overgrown landscaping. Security, safety issue, but also a pretty issue. Tripping hazards, that's another one. But also lighting is very important. And that's something that you can do outside of the home. It's also something that you can bring into the inside of your home. So for example, there's something called the Halifax LED lever. It's a door lever and it has a motion censored LED light built right into it. So if you've ever had that experience and it's battery operated, so you don't have to worry about hardwiring anything. But if you've ever had the experience where you can't find the door handle in the middle of the night, you're trying to go to the restroom or get a glass of water, motion censored light built right in, stylish, and of course safety. And then, there's other things too. While you're at it, refresh the first aid kit. Medications expire, Band-Aids lose their stickiness. Fire extinguishers actually expire as well. Batteries in carbon monoxide detectors. So take a moment to just kind of go through all of those basics too.
It wasn't as bad as you expect. The last relationship ended. She just basically threw all of the stuff that she collected throughout a relationship in the front yard. So they didn't have to cross any lines or enter any doors, I think.
That sounds like a tripping hazard.
Pretty much, yeah. Where can we go for more information and find some of the tools that you mentioned today?
Well, I am on all social media platforms, but also for the products that I mentioned, if you go to quickset.com, you'll find that there. And they also have demos that show you how to do everything.
All right, mom friend, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Summer's almost here, and that means road trips, camps, and a lot of more time behind the wheel. But what happens if your car breaks down and you're stuck waiting on repairs? So joining us today is the car mom herself, Kelly Stumpe. She's got smart advice for families on how to avoid having their summer plans totally derailed, including one insurance add-on that most people tend to overlook. Welcome to the show, Kelly. How are you?
I'm so good, Dan. Thanks for having me.
All right, with so many families hitting the road this summer, how can drivers be better prepared for all that unexpected?
Yeah, I mean, summer is a busy time of year for families, whether it be a road trip, summer camps, just like weekend getaways. Your car is probably going to be the thing that's taking you there. So the last thing you want is to be left without a car, which is why I love rental car reimbursement coverage. Okay, now this is an insurance add-on that covers the cost of a rental car if your car has to go to the shop to get repaired. So if you get in an accident, you need repairs, now you're stuck paying for a rental car out of pocket, well, this insurance coverage would cover that.
So why do you think that's something that drivers should really consider?
I think it's really important because, if a vehicle has to go to the shop, I think people have the assumption like, oh, it'll be in the shop for a couple of days, no big deal. I can borrow a car, whatever. But that's just not the case. Enterprise data tells us that the average time for a vehicle to get repaired is over 2 weeks. That's the average. So there's some people who are waiting even more to get their car back. Can you imagine having to, one, pay for a rental car for that long, and two, not having a car to continue your family on its summer plans? So that's why I just think this is so important for peace of mind. So that's one aspect that you don't have to worry about.
And as for insurance, how much coverage does the average person really need? And is there like a rule of thumb?
Such a good question. And really it comes down to looking at your car and making sure that you have enough coverage to get a similar vehicle. So I'll take my personal example. I have 4 kids. So I drive a big car. I have a Ford Expedition Max, and it's not for the gas mileage, right? I need to make sure that if I needed a replacement car, a rental car, I could get a vehicle that could still fit my family of 6. If I showed up to the rental car place and they pulled up a Toyota Camry, am I supposed to tell one of my kids they can't go to summer camp that day? So really make sure you check with your agent and talk about this type of coverage and make sure that you're getting enough of it. Say, hey, I've got this big car. I need to make sure if I need a rental car, I'm going to get a similar vehicle. That's a step that also a lot of people miss.
And if someone's really not sure whether they have this type of coverage, where's the best place to check or get more info?
Yeah, great question. So people make the assumption if they have, full coverage insurance that they have this, but that's not the case. This is an optional add-on. So my advice would be to call your agent and make sure that you have this coverage. It's not very expensive. In fact, it costs about a year's worth of coverage costs about as much as renting a car for just a single day. So it's kind of a no-brainer for any family who wants to make sure their summer plans don't get disrupted this summer.
Kelly Stumpe, one more time, where can they go for more information?
They can go to enterprise.com/rental reimbursement.
Thanks for joining me this morning, Kelly. Do you ever scroll TikTok and think, how did this random soap company just like blow up overnight? Well, it may not be so random. It's Small Business Month, and TikTok is celebrating with a $1 million ad credit giveaway. Yeah, you heard that right. To help small businesses grow big audiences. Joining us today is Esme Lane, TikTok's head of SMB, that's small and medium businesses. To break it all down, welcome to the show, Esme. How are you?
Hey, Dan. Good morning. Very good to be here.
All right, let's get right to it. TikTok is kicking off Small Business Month in kind of a big way. What are you announcing, and how can businesses take part in that?
So small businesses are the backbone of our community, and all through May, we're celebrating Small Biz Fest. You mentioned it. As part of this small business festival that we're celebrating, we're announcing a $1 million ad credit giveaway. So businesses who have not gotten started on TikTok have the absolute opportunity to take advantage of, the giveaway and all of the resources that we're pulling together this month of May.
And this $1 million ad credit, it's kind of huge. Can you walk us how small businesses could actually qualify for it, even if they don't know how to dance?
Absolutely. So we're hoping that businesses are absolutely excited about this opportunity to get started. And it's super easy. So you get onto TikTok Ads Manager with your official email address, you sign up, and then you apply for it. So we've got a website that we set up, TikToksmallbizfest.com, which is fully dedicated to sharing resources about how to and what to do on the platform, what features to use, what solutions to use. But to participate in the giveaway as well, you can use TikToksmallbizfest.com and apply. And in the summer, we're going to be announcing the winners. And all through May, we're doing a ton of workshops, events, etc., and connecting with the community that has not yet gotten onto TikTok.
And there's a lot of platforms out there. What do you think makes TikTok such a powerful tool for small business owners?
What I know makes TikTok special is it is a discovery platform. So it truly does not take a lot of big budgets or big production to be successful on the platform. In fact, what's special about TikTok is that anyone, whether you are a creator or a business, you can get discovered. Now, one of my favorite stories, Dan, from the region is The Blend. Now, you might know this, but Blend is a smoothie and mini pancake cafe that, has opened 3 locations thanks to TikTok, and tells us that over 50% of the people that walk into their cafes are actually coming from the fact that they heard about their business on TikTok, which is an amazing story, but is one of the thousands of stories that exist on the platform today. Now, the last thing that I will leave you on this with is we have more than half of the American population on the platform today. That itself should be the motivator for businesses to get on TikTok and get started right away. And we're hoping that Small Biz Fest and everything that we're doing with this $1 million ad credit giveaway allows for business to just be that little push, that extra motivation to get started right now.
And do you have any other examples of small businesses that have taken off due to TikTok, or like something that shows what's really possible?
Absolutely. So I can share with you my favorite. Let me tell you, Dan, I am obsessed with pickles, and I came across I Love Chamoy as a result of this obsession and doom scrolling on TikTok. Now, what happened was, Annie Davila's story was motivated completely by the fact that she was trying to find a sugar-free alternative for her father, who was recently diagnosed with diabetes. And she came up with a chamoy that was made out of monk fruit. Now, what's fascinating about her story is she shared that entire journey of, production to going to market with her product, to finding customers, to building more flavors, etc., on her platform on TikTok through her business, I Love Chamoy. Cut to a ton of her sales, like most of her sales coming from TikTok Shop, a huge community behind her, and her chamoy on pickle videos specifically have a significant community following, and yours truly as well is part of that. So this is just one more of the hundreds of stories, and I can go on and on, Dan, on this, but truly TikTok works, and businesses just need to bring their passion for an idea, a product, a service that they have. Come to TikTok and just get started. And Small Biz Fest and this $1 million ad credit giveaway is such a perfect space to get started.
One more time, Esme, where can they go to apply for that $1 million credit?
So the website is tiktoksmallbizfest.com, and you just need to apply with your official email address and connect with us.
Well, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Dan.
Our next guest is unique. What do you get when you mix couture chaos, murder in paradise, and a comeback wedding with secrets that could pretty much kill? It's Another Simple Favor. It's the long-awaited sequel that reunites Anna Kendrick and Blake Lively for another round of sharp wit, killer fashion, and even deadlier twists, this time in Capri. Joining the cast is Tony winner Alex Newell, who plays Vicky, Stephanie's fierce and fabulous book agent. Welcome to the show, Alex. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good.
This sequel, it brings back a lot of wild energy from the original, but now we're in Capri with even more secrets and high fashion. What's it like stepping into the deliciously chaotic world?
Amazing. And I get to be in Capri. Who doesn't want that? And oh God, that backdrop is gorgeous.
Your character, Vicky, is Stephanie's book agent. Can you tell us a little bit more about them and what kind of dynamic they bring into the mix?
Chaos in the fun way. I think Vicky is somebody that everybody wants to be on vacation, and she's on a work vacation at that. So she's just trying to get a good book deal out of Miss Stephanie Smothers.
From Shucked on Broadway to a Paul Feig thriller in Italy, you've been booked and busy. What drew you to Another Simple Favor, and how did it feel to collaborate with this ensemble?
You know, when my agent texted me and said, "Hey, do you want your White Lotus moment?" I was like, absolutely. And she said, well, Paul is directing the sequel of A Simple Favor and wants you to come on out to Capri and play this role. And I was so honored because I'd worked with Paul on Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist before. And so to come back and be actually directed by him and work with this incredible ensemble was just a dream come true. Everybody was so lovely.
And the movie blends comedy, mystery, and a little bit of glam, sometimes all pretty much in the same scene. What was your favorite moment in the film, or one that you think that you will always remember?
Oh my goodness. My favorite moment from the film that I think that entrance to Capri, the boat ride into it. I think that was just breathtakingly beautiful, just riding in onto it. Ugh.
And between the twists, the couture, and the cast, chemistry, what do you think will surprise audiences the most this time around?
The chaos. I mean, there is so much happening that you don't get a break from it. I think that's what they'll really take from it, but also kind of like what friendship is. I think we all have that frenemy and that friend that we all like to jab at and talk to, but we love them regardless.
Alex, thanks for joining me this morning. You should check out Another Simple Favor. It's available now on Amazon Prime. And that's it for Rise and Unwind TV. If you actually want to be on the show, just email me. Go to our website, riseunwindtv.com, fill out the form, send it on in, and maybe you could be on a future episode. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Also, go to our YouTube channel. That's Rise Unwind TV. And until next week, that was Rise and Unwind.